Here we are at the 24th Annual La Jolla Energy Conference, and we're thrilled to have YPF with us again this year, and Fernando Giliberti from YPF. Thanks for joining us, Fernando.
My pleasure, Jeremy. It's always a pleasure to be here, and we are grateful for your invitation to participate this time.
Fernando is the Vice President of Planning and Business Development at YPF, and for those of you who've been living under a rock, YPF is involved with a small project called Vaca Muerta. So let's start there. Let's talk a little bit, because in your presentation, your keynote just before lunch, you shared some important statistics, and one I'd like to start with is that Argentina, and because of YPF and what you've done in Vaca Muerta, is one of only 4 countries that's producing from unconventional resources. Argentina, China, United States, and Canada. So let's talk about Vaca Muerta. What does that mean for Argentina, but of course for YPF?
Vaca Muerta is one of the many source rocks which have upside potential of producing oil and gas for the country, and therefore bridging the gap of the energy imports. As of today, Vaca Muerta is the most well-known rock and the most developed one, and we are going through different stages depending upon the type of project. The main project in Vaca Muerta is that we have in a partnership with Chevron, which is called Loma Campana, and so far we've drilled more than 300 wells, and we are producing more than 40,000 BOEs per day. So we are moving along from the pilot to the factory mode in that project. But we also have shale gas project with Dow Chemical, which is called the Orejano, and now we are drilling horizontal wells for pilot in the area. And there's a brand new project which we have with Petronas that is called Amarga Chica, and where we are piloting the area, going straight with horizontal wells. So it is not only that we are moving from the pilot stage to the factory mode, but it is also that we are moving from vertical drilling to horizontal drilling. We are making good progress in terms of productivity and reducing cost. So far, more than 35% for vertical wells, and on a frac stage basis, we are also reducing by the same amount the cost of drilling horizontal wells. So the prospect is really promising. Our strategic partners are happy with the results we are producing in Vaca Muerta at different stages, and I think it's a very good prospect for YPF and the country.
Thanks for mentioning those partners, because I want to talk to you about that. Help me understand, because that's clearly part, or if not the central piece of the strategy to develop this unconventional resource in Argentina, and that's the strategic partners. Help us understand that a little bit, how that came to be, how that's evolving.
At the very beginning, with our strategy presentation, we said that YPF would resolve 50% of the energy needs, primary energy needs of the country. If you take a look at all the different play types, either from conventional sources or unconventional sources, you would see that we don't have any mega giant field out there so as to have one single company exploiting all the resources and producing all the oil and gas the country needs. Therefore, we always said that we would need a lot of players into the country to produce at the large, meaningful scale all these many resources that now we know they are out there to be exploited. And therefore, it's always been a key part of our strategy to bring more players, and those are the ones we call strategic partners, the ones that partner with us. Of course, we are also welcoming competitors, because we are now getting to know from the experience in US that you also learn from competition. And therefore, we are welcoming other companies who can compete and collaborate at the same time.
That's the industry.
That's the industry. That's it works.
Thank you for mentioning that, because that was the final question I wanted to ask you. Is at this conference this year, last year, and many of the discussions we have, not just here but throughout in the role of the institute, is we talk about the energy boom in the U.S. and the lessons learned, and then we talk about, well, how can those be brought to Latin America? How can that be, quote unquote, exported, technology, know-how? But then you mentioned something in your presentation that I thought was interesting. You're doing that, but you have to adapt it. And you just mentioned a little while ago the cost reductions and the gains in some of the drilling you're doing. So talk a little bit about how you've adapted to Argentina, to Vaca Muerta, to that unique resource, the lessons from the U.S. experience.
So far it's been fairly straightforward to hire knowledgeable people, either consultants or experts, or to hire drilling contractors or oilfield service companies. These companies bring technology and knowledge to our country, and the means we have to access those is by the contract. I mean, you sign a contract with them, and therefore you access to the technology and the knowledge. Now, the point at which we are here in Argentina today is that we need to create our own operational model. We know that our experience is not going to be replicated by means of thousands of independent companies,
right,
as it happens here in US. And therefore we are trying to find alternative operating models, probably gaining more insight from all the wells that have been drilled already in US. You know, a few weeks ago there was the CERAWeek, and there was some sort of not criticism, but explanation about that U.S. have invested a lot of money into learning the lessons.
Yeah.
And in a way that is already available for other companies
right,
like ourselves, you know, to dig into that information, mine that information, and see if we can get some lessons through the benchmarks and through complex elaboration of G&G models and simulations and so on and so forth. So the challenge we are facing today is to create our own operational model, and one that drives us directly into more efficient drilling and completion of the wells, and therefore that's the way to save those money that were invested here in US, because at the end of the day we won't have that much money to be invested in Argentina.
Well, and you compare the number of wells. I mean, congratulations, by the way, on all the success. But when you do side-by-side comparison, 300 wells is pretty small. And
it's pretty small. It's pretty small.
I mean, I'm not trying to diminish, but
guess what? I mean, we read some reports from Woodmac, for example, and they were highlighting that when we crossed the 25,000 BOE day threshold, we were investing as much money with the same number of rigs and with the same type of results that US was doing several years ago. So now the challenge is to see whether we can be, in a sense, wiser than the collective experience of all these independent and drillers here in US, and we can be, you know, more focal into learning faster about our reservoir and creating our own operating models.
Your unique model for
yes,
not just Vaca Muerta, but Argentina.
But so far the indications we have are that we are progressing in terms of productivity, IP90s, I mean the cumulative production after 1 year, the cost reduction in the timeline. All these metrics get along well with the early experiences the US industry had.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. Again, Fernando, thank you so much for joining us here in La Jolla. We look forward to hearing more as YPF moves up the unconventional learning curve, and congratulations.
Sure, we will, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk about Argentina and YPF. Thank you very much.
Thank you.